They called humanity the gentle Deathworlders. It was meant as a joke, a paradox wrapped in mockery. The Council believed Earth had been tamed by diplomacy, that its chaotic past had burned itself out long before humanity reached the stars. They saw humans smile, apologize, and negotiate, and thought it weakness. They mistook patience for submission and restraint for fear. Earth's ambassadors spoke softly in council chambers, wearing calm expressions even when insulted by species who had never known hunger or pain. They thanked those who mocked them, offered trade to those who stole from them, and forgave those who tested them. The galaxy saw this and concluded that humans were pacifists, emotional creatures clinging to peace because they couldn't afford war. They didn't realize that humanity's history wasn't one of peace, it was one of recovery. Deathworlders had learned long ago that constant conflict was extinction's twin. Every century of human history was carved with scars, each one a lesson in survival. They learned restraint not out of kindness, but out of memory. Still, to the Council's eyes, Earth seemed humble, cooperative, small. When the Council debated expanding into unclaimed territories, humans offered mapping data and exploration teams. When the Zektar raided merchant convoys, humans escorted supply ships, insisting on fair trade instead of retaliation. Every decision, every gesture, reinforced the image of a soft species desperate to fit in. Behind closed doors, alien diplomats laughed. They fear us, they said. They fear their own nature. Only a handful of alien scholars ever suspected otherwise. One of them, a Yalith historian named Orven, once wrote that no civilization born on a death world could truly forget what survival costs. He observed the way human soldiers stood in silence during ceremonies, how their eyes shifted when war was mentioned. There was no excitement in them, only calculation. He wrote, "When they say peace, they mean preparation." Few took his warning seriously. The galaxy didn't understand humanity's restraint was never weakness, it was armor. While others boasted of empire and conquest, humans built alliances. While alien militaries competed in strength, Earth invested in precision, automation, and silent deterrence. No one noticed that every mining colony doubled as a fortified bunker. Every orbital station had fallback protocols for total system isolation. To the galaxy, Earth was transparent. In truth, it was unreadable. Yet humans didn't hate the others. They wanted coexistence. They wanted to prove that their world's brutality could end with them, that their legacy didn't need to be violence. They negotiated with patience that came from centuries of loss. When alien diplomats shouted, humans listened. When they were accused, they stayed calm. When threatened, they smiled. They learned long ago that predators survive not by showing teeth but by letting others forget they have them. Still, under the surface, there was unease. Every insult stored quietly in archives, every betrayal logged without comment. Human intelligence agencies mapped the power structures of every species, not for conquest but for insurance. They understood that peace without leverage was fantasy. They were polite because they had the option not to be. Rumors spread among lower council staff, human scientists developing untraceable weapons, fleets training beyond known borders, military colonies hidden under false planetary data. Officials dismissed it as paranoia. "They're too dependent on trade," they said. "They need us." But some veterans who had fought alongside humans whispered a different truth. They spoke of battlefield medics who stayed calm as orbital fire rained down, of soldiers who advanced without comms, guided only by instinct. They said humans didn't fight to survive, they fought to end fights. Once they committed, there was no retreat, no second chance, only conclusion. And so humanity kept smiling. They kept attending council sessions, sending aid to distant worlds, helping rebuild after alien wars they hadn't started. The galaxy applauded their empathy while underestimating their endurance. No one noticed the stillness behind their eyes, the silence of a species that had already seen extinction and walked away from it. Orven's final record, written shortly before his disappearance, captured what others refused to see. Deathworlders do not hide because they are ashamed of what they are. They hide because they know what they could become again. And the day they stop hiding, We will all remember what true fear feels like. The council laughed when it read that message. They didn't understand it wasn't prophecy. It was a warning. It began with a border dispute no one thought would matter. A mining colony in neutral space, claimed by both a human corporation and the Cravch Dominion. For weeks, negotiations stalled while alien patrols surrounded the planet, blocking supply routes. Earth's diplomats urged restraint, repeating the same words they always had: "We seek resolution, not war." The Council dismissed them, calling humanity dramatic, unfit for interstellar politics. Then the Cravch fleets opened fire on unarmed transports, killing civilians who carry no weapons, only ore and water. Human protests reached the Council within hours. The debate lasted days. The verdict was a political farce. Earth was accused of territorial aggression. Sanctions followed: trade embargoes, military observation, restricted jump routes. The same species who had once begged humanity for medical aid now supported the punishment. The council chamber echoed with hollow speeches about galactic unity. The humans left in silence. When the blockade expanded to include inhabited colonies, panic spread. Alien soldiers rounded up human settlers for security screening. Entire families vanished into labor camps. The council called it containment. Earth called it what it was: enslavement. Still, humanity's response was measured. The ambassador's broadcast was calm, steady, almost pleading. Stop this before it becomes irreversible. The message was ignored. Then came the broadcast that changed everything. An alien admiral, boasting of victory, executed 4,000 captured humans live on the council network. He smiled as he ordered the firing line. The sound was broadcast across every channel, every station, every world. For 8 seconds, the galaxy watched and did nothing. When the feed ended, the council waited for Earth's response. There was none. No demands, no retaliation, no messages. All human communication ceased. Civilian networks went dark. Diplomatic channels fell silent. Some assumed Earth was paralyzed by shock. Others laughed, claiming the Deathworlders had finally broken. 3 days later, the Cravch Dominion's border outposts disappeared. Not destroyed, gone. Its satellites, fleets, and transmissions simply ceased to exist. Recovery teams found nothing but orbiting dust. The Council dismissed it as a spatial anomaly until it happened again, then again. Within a week, 5 star systems had gone silent, their defense networks erased. No wreckage, no life signs, no survivors. Rumors spread that a human AI fleet had been unleashed, one built for deterrence but never acknowledged publicly. Others claimed covert Black Ops teams were dismantling enemy fleets from the inside. No evidence surfaced, yet every strike bore the same precision: fast, surgical, merciless. Governments panicked, calling emergency sessions. Some demanded immediate peace. Others prepared for retaliation. But how do you fight what you can't see? The moment sensors detected human fleets, they vanished again, appearing light years away without jump traces. Even the most advanced alien surveillance couldn't track their movement. The Council issued a statement urging calm. It failed instantly. Fear spread faster than light. Entire colonies began transmitting surrender offers to Earth despite not being targets. They understood what the others didn't: the silence wasn't retreat. It was humanity choosing when to speak again. Alien intelligence tried to intercept human transmissions but found only one repeating signal, encoded in an ancient Terran language. It translated to a single phrase: "We remember." That was all. No threats, no conditions, just remembrance. Across the galaxy, governments ordered full military alert. Fleets repositioned, borders sealed, diplomats vanished. Then, as suddenly as it began, the disappearances stopped. For 2 weeks, the galaxy held its breath. Every broadcast, every message, every quiet whisper asked the same question: what will they do next? When Earth finally transmitted again, the message was brief and chilling. You demanded justice. You will have it. We are done pretending. From that moment, no one in the galaxy spoke of humanity as peaceful. Every admiral, every leader, every species realized that the era of polite Deathworlders had ended. Humanity had stopped hiding. And for the first time in centuries, the stars themselves seemed afraid. The first wave of human retaliation revealed precision beyond comprehension. No grand declarations, no fleets parading across the void, only quiet erasure. The strikes came from impossible angles, violating every known law of faster-than-light detection. Alien admirals saw their defense grids collapse before sensors even registered contact. Entire fleets ceased transmitting within seconds. To outsiders, it looked like annihilation. To humanity, it was controlled correction. Every operation followed the Deathworlder doctrine, swift, exact, emotionless. It had no name before this war, only unspoken principles born from centuries of survival. The doctrine demanded one rule above all: never fight for victory, fight for conclusion. Leave no threat capable of return. Efficiency replaced spectacle. Instead of overwhelming firepower, humans employed silence, jammed communications, hacked targeting systems, and weaponized misinformation. They didn't bombard planets, they made their enemies destroy themselves. Reports trickled through smuggler networks describing invisible fleets that attacked without visible thrusters or energy signatures. Soldiers claimed to hear human voices across encrypted channels speaking in their own languages. "This is your mercy." Others reported drones descending through orbital debris fields, collecting data and vanishing. Each message sent the same message: resistance was irrelevant. Humanity didn't conquer. It corrected errors. The Council's military coalition tried to counterattack, gathering ships from 12 species into one massive force. They expected a conventional battle. Instead, the human response came in a single transmission. Every system in the coalition fleet powered down simultaneously. Engines, weapons, life support, all disabled. When power returned, their targeting logs displayed human identification codes for every ship destroyed in the previous raids. The implication was clear: humans had mapped, infiltrated, and outpaced them long before the first shot was fired. Panic turned to disbelief. Strategic command centers demanded explanations. How could a species dismissed as fragile possess such reach? Intelligence agencies uncovered fragments of an old Earth initiative known as Project Bastion, a planetary defense network that secretly expanded into a multi-system deterrence grid. It was designed not to wage war, but to ensure no one could start one against humanity again. The galaxy realized too late that every treaty, every trade route, every communication relay had been used as a scaffold for preparation. Alien propaganda tried to frame humans as warmongers. The campaign failed instantly when the first interrogation of captured human operatives was released. They didn't boast or plead. They simply stated, "You declared this." Their tone was calm, detached, almost regretful. To them, destruction wasn't hatred, it was procedure. As more worlds fell under human control, patterns emerged. Civilian populations were untouched. Infrastructure remained intact. Only military and political leadership vanished. Command centers found notes, written in alien script. "Do not test extinction twice." The message carried no rage, only finality. Psychological warfare followed naturally. Entire empires surrendered after intercepted broadcasts showed human fleets hovering silently above worlds, engines idle, weapons cold. No demands, no ultimatums. Just presence. The waiting broke them faster than any bombardment could. Analysts called it the Deathworlder paradox. Humans fought with the precision of machines yet carried an empathy that refused unnecessary suffering. They exterminated threats without cruelty, but without hesitation. It was that balance that terrified the galaxy most. A species capable of mercy yet unafraid of total annihilation stood beyond comprehension. When the Council requested an armistice, the human reply was factual, not emotional. "Peace is not something we request. It is something you maintain." The message ended with coordinates marking systems already under human lockdown, forming a boundary that split the galaxy in two. Inside it, silence. Outside, trembling compliance. No one had seen the full extent of human power. They didn't need to. The Deathworlder doctrine had achieved its purpose. Humanity no longer needed to prove strength. The universe now understood that beneath their calm words and quiet smiles lay an ancient instinct, one that didn't crave domination but demanded safety, even if it required fear to enforce it. And so the galaxy entered a new age, where peace wasn't maintained by treaties or diplomacy but by the unspoken truth that Deathworlders had finally stopped pretending to be harmless. The Council demanded humanity explain itself. They summoned Earth's representative to face the Assembly, expecting fear or justification. When the human finally appeared, they brought no guards, no entourage, only quiet certainty. Every delegate who looked into those calm, unblinking eyes felt something they hadn't in generations: vulnerability. The alien chairperson accused humanity of deception, of hiding monstrous power behind false diplomacy. The human didn't deny it. "We hid," they said evenly, "because we knew what we were." The chamber erupted in anger, yet the human's voice never rose. "You called us unpredictable. You were right. We evolved where everything tried to kill us. Every breath on Earth was survival. We learned to endure, to adapt, to conquer the impossible. But we also learned restraint. You thought that restraint was weakness." The words carry no pride, only exhaustion. "We tried peace. We built bridges. We warned you not to cross certain lines. You didn't listen. You called it cowardice. So now you face what we kept buried." Every accusation the Council hurled was met with brutal honesty. Yes, humans had prepared for war. Yes, they had hidden fleets. Yes, they had studied every empire's biology, psychology, and vulnerabilities. But they hadn't done it for conquest. They did it because history taught them that peace without deterrence is an illusion. "We know what happens when power meets mercy," the human said. "It dies screaming." Leaders demanded to know why humanity hadn't warned them of such capability. The reply was cold. "Would you have listened? You laughed when we spoke of caution. You mocked our fear of extinction. So we stopped explaining." The Council accused them of vengeance. The human's eyes hardened. "This isn't vengeance. It's balance restored." Transmissions flickered to life across the chamber's massive display. Live feeds from dozens of systems showed fleets withdrawing, not human fleets, but the armies of those who had attacked them. Entire command chains stood down, their leaders surrendering unconditionally. None of it was forced. They weren't being conquered. They were conceding to inevitability. The human looked at the stunned delegates. "We didn't threaten them. They saw the truth and decided living was better than testing us again." One alien general, trembling, demanded to know what humanity wanted. The answer silenced the room. "We want nothing. We don't need tribute, territory, or obedience. We only require respect, earned through understanding. We will not rule you. But we will not bow again." The human paused, then added, "We didn't become monsters. You just reminded us that we could be." The atmosphere shifted. The fear was no longer about destruction, it was about comprehension. Every species present began realizing what Earth truly represented, a civilization that had survived its own chaos and learned to master it. Humanity's restraint had never been disguise, it was discipline. The mask hadn't hidden their nature, it had protected the galaxy from it. The human continued, voice low but unwavering. "We hid our claws not because we were afraid to use them, but because we knew how easily we could forget to stop. We carry the memory of extinction in our blood. It keeps us measured. It makes us dangerous. And it's the only reason any of you are still alive." As the broadcast ended, a final transmission echoed through every council frequency. "We are done hiding. You wanted to see what we are. Look closely. Then decide if you ever want to see it again." The transmission cut. No threats followed, no demands. The silence that remained carried more weight than any weapon. The galaxy finally understood the truth that Earth had buried for centuries. Humanity's mercy was never weakness. It was the last gift they were willing to give. The war ended not with treaties or surrender ceremonies, but with silence. One by one, entire fleets powered down, their commanders transmitting the same message across every frequency: we yield. No human ships pursued them. No orbital strikes followed. The fighting stopped because no one had the will to continue. Every empire that once mocked Earth now turned its gaze downward, waiting for judgment. Humanity didn't celebrate. They only observed, watching the galaxy's chaos collapse into uneasy calm. Worlds that had joined the Council's crusade sent desperate apologies. Leaders broadcast public confessions, begging for forgiveness. Some offered reparations, others begged for inclusion in the new accord. The name wasn't human, yet everyone knew who enforced it. Humanity never claimed power, but the galaxy moved as if they had. Their fleets formed a quiet boundary that no species dared to cross. The Council still existed in name, but its authority had evaporated. Every decision passed through Earth's diplomats, and no one argued. Humanity imposed no empire, no flags, no propaganda. They set rules, simple, absolute. No slavery. No forced labor. No planetary sterilization. No genocide. Violations would be answered immediately, and without negotiation. When the first violator tested them, the response came within hours. The offending planet's orbital defense network shut down, its leadership disappeared, and a single message appeared on the public data feed: law enforced. No threats followed. No violence touched civilians. But no one ever tested those laws again. For the first time in recorded history, the galaxy stabilized. Trade resumed, disputes dwindled, and conflicts that had raged for centuries quietly ended. Alien societies rebuilt under the shadow of humanity's presence. The fear that once poisoned every interaction became something new, respect born of inevitability. The old empires whispered that humans had not won, they had corrected. In the years that followed, stories about the Deathworlders turned into legends. Children of alien species learned of Earth not as conquerors but as the unspoken arbiters of order. They were described as the species that had mastered fear, wielding it not as a weapon but as a warning. Scholars called it the Silent Dominion, a rule without occupation, an empire without ambition. Humanity never asked to lead, yet the galaxy followed. What unsettled everyone most was how quickly humanity disappeared from view again. Fleets returned to deep orbit, ambassadors resigned from public roles, and Earth went quiet. Systems once patrolled by human ships now saw only their contrails fading among the stars. They didn't need to remind anyone of their power. Memory did that for them. Every planet remembered the weeks when lights vanished from the sky and silence replaced defiance. When questioned about their withdrawal, the human ambassador's last statement echoed through every archive. We will not govern what is not ours. But understand this: peace exists because we permit it. Guard it well. After that, Earth sealed its networks and went dark once more. Communication became one-way, filtered through automated relays. Humanity had retreated into the same stillness they once hid behind, but now the galaxy knew what rested beneath it. Generations later, Council historians debated whether humanity's rise had been justice or dominance. None could agree. But all agreed on one truth: the galaxy's age of arrogance had ended the moment Deathworlders stopped pretending. That memory alone kept wars from returning. Across distant worlds, people still look toward Sol when storms gather. They know the Deathworlders are watching, quietly, patiently, waiting to see if the lesson holds. And whenever someone suggests testing humanity's resolve, the room always falls silent. No one wants to find out what happens when the universe forgets its fear again. Because everyone remembers the day the Deathworlders revealed what they truly were, and no one dares make them prove it twice.